Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television, radio, and podcast talk show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning 2 p.m. on the Eastern time zone, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. And I do say get to ride home with you in the afternoon because it's always so much fun. You can find us on television a couple different ways. In North Alabama, specifically, you can find us on channel 182, and that's on Charter Communications, close to the Huntsville, Alabama area. The other way you can find us is on Abundant Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast now on thenewscasters.com. And on the radio, the biggest country station in South Carolina, WZLA. And you can find us on all the social media sites there as well. Continue sending email. I treasure each single email you send out. Donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. I've got Paul Kellogg with me. So excited to talk with you, Paul. So many wonderful things that we can talk about. And you are the founder of Empowered Soul Network. Let's talk about that for a few minutes. What's it all about?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, Donna, thank you for having me on. You were
Always.
on a guest in the Empowered Soul Network. That's a Facebook group. My family and I started a couple of years ago. It's now got close to 10,000 members, and people just love to get on and tell their stories. I mean, you and I are kindred spirits here in that regard, helping people just get their message out there. There's so many amazing people all over the world that have this unique place in life. They have unique experiences, and you never know what experience somebody shares that could help somebody else that's searching and trying to find some answers. So leveraging that and helping people have a platform for that is what Empowered Soul Network is all about. We've got people from all walks of life in there, all faiths, all cultures, all backgrounds. I think I've interviewed people now in 40 different countries, in that regard. So it's been a pleasure to be able to be a part of that kind of bigger family, if you will, of people.
Oh, yeah. We're finding out the big world is not so big after all. We all have a lot of common ideas and common ways, the way we actually walk through life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I have a colleague who's becoming a good friend. She's from Pakistan. She lost her husband a few years ago to a tragic accident, and she is now a grief counselor. And she puts aside any specific religious orientation and just helps people to grieve and to release and to find empowerment, to find something forward. Just a beautiful person. And I don't know if I ever would have met her other than in these circles of connections. So it's amazing.
It is. It's an amazing life. It's an amazing world. It's amazing if we'll let it be. And I'm all for letting it be.
Right.
You and I were talking. We had actually a show before the show, and so we were talking about there's a common word, and you brought this up, and I'm glad you did, and it's a word that back in and you mentioned this back in my days of the 70s, it was kind of a mystical word. It's like people were almost afraid of the word, but it's the word aura.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe that word? What is it really?
Yeah, to step back a little bit and kind of give an overview orientation to that. One of the things that we talk about is, again, whatever your beliefs are, we're all energy. We're all expressions of the universe, expressions of God. However you say that, doesn't make any difference what the words are to me. I am energy. I have that soul or that life force or that spirit. That this physical body is like an anchor that holds me here in this physical world so that I can learn and grow and experience, express, help other people with what I'm learning. And that energy, it's actually been photographed, in infrared kind of technology and so on. And you can see the heat patterns and it's kind of an electromagnetic vibration. It's the same energy that shoots through our nervous system and so on. Science still doesn't know exactly how that fits. They still don't know quite what that is. But that energy emanates out. We're like radio receivers and transmitters with our energy. We're constantly projecting energy out from us by our emotions, by our actions, our thoughts, our heart. And we're also being bombarded by that same energy. You and I are connecting energetically here. We're interacting. There's a relationship going on. So aura is just simply the word that describes that emanation. And many people can actually see that. You know, back in the day, people saw the countenance and the halo around the Christ and so on. I mean, there's so much sensitivity that we have to that. The more relaxed a person is, the brighter that energy is. We're like little miniature suns, if you will, Donna. We're always shining out. So that's really what that means. It's just the energy that we emanate. People can feel it. They can have thoughts related to it. They can actually visualize it. My wife is very visual. She sees energies around people. She's a school teacher. She sees the energy around the kids all the time. Sometimes it's tight, tense, or a little dark. Sometimes it's bright and happy. So it's one way to gauge our relationships with each other and with the environment out around us without being caught in the intellect of, well, this should or this shouldn't. And like you said, 40, 50, 60 years ago, people didn't understand any of that. So it was automatically something that was not good or something bad, as opposed to now people talk about it all the time.
Oh, yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And also remember my son, when he was going to college, you know, he could just call me, and it was, I don't know, it was something about the tone of his voice or something. And automatically I would say, "What's wrong?" Yeah. And he would say, "What do you mean what's wrong?" And I would say, "I can hear it in your voice." And he was like, "How can you hear it in my voice?" And then he would tell me whatever the problem was. I didn't have time to study. I didn't blah, blah, blah. I've got a test tomorrow, so I'm on the edge. He would be like that. But it's just something that you can just tell. And just walking into a room, you can just walk into a room and maybe 4 couples are there. You can sense the ones that are having some issues.
There you go.
I mean, there it is. Is that what you would think aura is?
Well, yeah, and even to continue to simplify this, another giant word that's out there now, and I rarely find people that don't have some kind of acceptance, is the word intuition. I follow my intuitions. I trust my instincts. I have this gut feeling, the hunch, all of that. What we're doing there is we're experiencing the energy. And so when you walk into that room, there are 4 couples, you could not know them from Adam, but yet they're projecting this energy in the room. And I don't separate it out. Sometimes their body language, sometimes their facial expressions, but that unconscious, unobvious kind of feeling or sense is what more and more people are starting to realize is trying to speak to them. And that can be a very practical, down-to-earth tool to help us navigate the environment, the workplace, the upset relationship, if I start to trust what I'm picking up and what I'm experiencing. So that's key answer. And then we can talk about the 4 different ways that they do that. But in general, that's what's happening. Energy's interacting with energy.
Absolutely. And I'll not say which sibling, but it was one of our Phil and my siblings. We went to their house where it was going to be movie night. And we walked in the door and it was like, whoa, something's wrong here. And it's not, I'm not like, goo or anything like that. It's just that you had the feeling, you had to trust it. But something, even the Bible talks about insight. Yeah. I mean, it's all over Proverbs. I mean, it's just, having the insight to see things, and it's a spiritual thing. It's a God thing.
Absolutely. And I think it's First Corinthians chapter 12, verse, I can't remember the verses, but it talks about the gifts of the Spirit. The one is given the gift of visions and the gift of miracles, the gift, and it's all that's describing energy. It's not describing the intellectual philosophy. It absolutely is. It's talking about that. So and that's one of the things that we talk about in our work. Sometimes the people that I interview in Empowered Soul Network they're guided by that. So one of the key ways that we sense that energy is, as you and I were talking, we just feel it. It's almost a physical sensation. It feels good. It feels up. It feels down. It feels loving. It feels not so nice. All that. There are people that are very empathic, they call it, to just feeling energies. Learning to interpret and discern it is one of the top things that we work with. And then there's the people who pick up energy. It's not just a feeling, but they actually have thoughts that pop into their mind. I was very strong with that when I was growing up. I woke up in the middle of the night, and in my head, Bessie's in trouble. Now, Bessie was our milk cow, and she's very, very pregnant. I was probably 10 years old. So I had this up, Bessie's in trouble. So I walked in, woke up my father, and I said, Dad, Bessie's in trouble. We need to get down to the barn. And he was kind of sensitive. And he decided, what have I got to do? I'm going to call the vet. So here's 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever. The vet comes over. It didn't live far. It was a small town community. The vet comes over. Well, the calf was breached. And a large animal like that can be trouble. And they actually had to, without getting too graphic, tie a rope and he'll pull it out and so on. So I picked up that thought process and then shared that. Now, there are other people that actually see it. Sometimes in the metaphysical style circles, they'll call that clairvoyance. All clair means is just clear seeing, voyance, clear seeing. So you're seeing beyond just the physical pen, you're seeing the energy of the pen. So they think in pictures. They process the energy by seeing it. So they do see the auras around people. They see angels. You name it. They just see a lot of things that sometimes the rest of us don't perceive. And then the last one is the knowingness. It's kind of an inner knowing. It's kind of an awareness overall of something. It can be very prophetic almost. They kind of tend to know what's happening out there. I have a strong concern for the future and so forth. So 4 different ways that people perceive and actually process that energy. And when you know what another person is, I can easily communicate better with that person. For example, my wife, I said, is very visual. I'm very auditory. So if we're not careful, we're ships passing in the night. But understanding that probably has kept our marriage together because it's forced us to be patient with each other. She oftentimes doesn't see what my ideas are, and I often don't understand what her pictures are. So by knowing that, it helps. And then we have 2 kids that are feeling kids. They just wear their heart on their sleeve. They're just total they sense things. If we weren't relaxed as parents, shut the door. We don't want to talk to you. Right. And we had to learn to listen to them more because sometimes there was no word that fit the feeling that they were having. They couldn't describe it because it was a feel. So those are some aspects of kind of this bigger picture of intuition and so on.
Absolutely. Dr. Paul, we've got to go into a commercial break. Can you believe half the show is already went by? We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there, okay? Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. Finding the right home isn't just about bedrooms and square footage. It's about comfort, security, and the feeling you get the moment you walk through the door. That's why so many families across Greenwood and the Lakelands area trust Jenny Ferguson with Keller Williams. And I'll tell you from personal experience, Jenny was my realtor, and she truly cares about her clients. Jenny takes the time to listen, to understand what matters most, and to guide you every step of the way, whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, or ready to sell. Because this isn't just a transaction, it's your life. With local knowledge, personal care, and a commitment to getting it right, Jenny Ferguson makes the process simple and even enjoyable. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, now's the time to make your move. Call Jenny Ferguson with Keller Williams in Greenwood today and take the next step toward a place you'll truly love coming home to. Good afternoon, Sunshine. Medical Minute brought to you by Dr. Chuck with Lakelands Chiropractic, where an ounce of prevention is worth what? A pound of cure. So what is the Beamer? Okay, now the Beamer uses very gentle pulsed electromagnetic signals. This will stimulate healthy muscles and it supports the temporary blood flow. Now let's talk Beamer and circulation support. Now the Beamer gently supports natural circulation in healthy muscles. Now that's what I call natural health. Thank you so much for watching your Medical Minute, brought to you by Dr. Chuck. You know who he's with. He's with Lakelands Chiropractic, where an ounce of prevention is worth what? A pound of cure. I hope you have a super duper awesome rest of the afternoon. You take care. Shine your style at Kiss My Glass right here in the Anderson Mall. There's a place where style meets sparkle. At Kiss My Glass, every piece is handcrafted, custom designed, and made to shine just like you. Owner Beth Gibson brings creativity to life with stunning custom tumblers, gifts, and one-of-a-kind pieces you won't find anywhere else. Look for the perfect gift or something uniquely you, from bold and glamorous to simple and elegant. There's something for every style, so stop by, get inspired, and leave with something unforgettable. Kiss My Glass inside the Anderson Mall, Anderson, South Carolina, where your sparkle begins. Be sure to check out Kiss My Glass on Facebook for updates and specials and gift ideas.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television, radio, and podcast talk show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 2 p.m. as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. And Dr. Paul is going to come on there and ride with us as well. Dr. Paul, I wanted to mention one other thing. Yeah. I'm always kind of, and it's a God-given thing. I really do believe it. It's a talent. And so I've used this in business with customer service. And like when you walk in and let's say you have an appointment to talk with a potential client, and it's really important you read them. Okay, so you can know what to do. I watched him one time, and it was an account I wanted. I was looking so forward to this one. It was like a huge account for me. Used to handle the government and corporate accounts with GTE. So I walk into this guy's business. There was his aura is I'm busy and I'm not going to hear a word you say.
Yep.
That's how I got it. So I picked up on it. And so I said, you know what? You are busy. I said, let's reschedule a time for me to come back. I was not going to sit and talk with him when he was not hearing a word I was having to say because he was busy with his business. Yep. You know, so you have to protect yourself from that and your client from that as well. So he said, well, thank you for recognizing that. He said, I'm something, something happened to the product line, and then he's just all over it. So I said, let's just do it right now. And I'll leave and let you run your business. So I opened up my day timer and we set up a date, and then I closed it and I said, I'm out of here. I'll see you whenever the date was. So we come back. He was much more relaxed. And he said, I wouldn't have heard a word you said. And I'm pretty sure it's a good product. And so I got the client all because, and it was nothing I did. It was just something I felt.
That's right.
So there you go. Customer service is all about understanding aura.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things that, I mean, I hear it all the time. I trust my intuitions, and so on. That's great. But oftentimes it's a happenstance for people. It kind of comes. You wait for it or whatever. But you can actually use that sensitivity. Let's just call it sensitivity. You can project that out because everything else is energy. So there's no reason why I can't relax a little bit. And even if I think it's my imagination, which most of the time it's actually not, I can sense what's going on in the office before I even get there. I can sense how to communicate with my spouse before I get home. So you can use that kind of as a GPS, like almost like a spiritual GPS, to be more in the right place at the right time, to be more discerning of where the obstacles might be in the pathway. And that's what people do all the time. And the famous mystics of the world and people who write books, that's all they did. That's all they did was they just followed those impressions and those instincts. So it can be a huge practical tool. I love that example, Donna, the way you brought up. I wanted to share a couple of things here because we're talking about business. I saw this in Forbes magazine. I have to paraphrase because I don't remember the exact quote. But 91% of executives, corporate executives, say that intuitive decision-making is a major part of their leadership.
I agree 100,000 times.
It's amazing. And then here's another one. I love this quote. This is my favorite quote of all time. Einstein. People don't realize how kind of spiritual he was. He was very aware of energy. He said, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant, but has forgotten the gift. Isn't that beautiful?
I never thought about it that way.
Bring it on, you guys.
Thank you for that insight.
Yeah, it starts with trust.
And it's about people with different beliefs. And I'll give you another example. So the guy I went to school with, we are on different planets when it comes to, say, the political world, the way that is. But I'm just going to tell you what, this guy is an avid gardener. Yeah. And so, but he wanted to argue the point with me on every single thing, at all my guests and all this kind of stuff. And so I just stopped him right there. And I always, when people are arguing with me about things like that, I just say, I'm not going to argue with you because I love you. Right. That's what I always say. So and I think sometimes he argued with me just so I would tell him I loved him. I think he needed to be told that. But anyway, so I'm saying, I love you. And I said, something, you know more about gardening than anyone on earth that I know of. You are a master. As a matter of fact, you need to be holding classes about gardening and about herbs and all these wonderful things that make us healthy. And I said, you do that. Then he sends me a message back. And he said, I'm actually thinking about writing a book. And I said, do it. Because I can't think of anybody on earth who knows more about gardening than you do.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's more of a gift than arguing with people.
Well, and not only that, but again, the energetic part of that, it goes underneath and beyond what's here. I mean, you and I both know that people that they could go to church on Sunday morning and they'll forget it the rest of the week.
True.
Right? I mean, and I know people that have never been inside a church and they're the most loving, caring, beautiful people in the entire world. It really is that intuitive side really comes from that loving, truly concern, because back in that Corinthians chapter, it said, with all these gifts, the most important one is love. If you don't have that, the others are not nearly as pronounced or important.
Oh, well, you got to have gratitude. You've got to have gratitude about everything, too. You have to be so appreciative. That I thank Jesus above that I met you, Paul. I really did, because you've brought so much into our lives. And these are things that not only I'm sharing, not only Phil is my husband is sharing, but our audience is able to share. People are, I had more insight than I thought I had. Yeah. So I'm hearing that. And you do. Everybody has it. You gotta get it.
It's impossible not to be intuitive. Everybody's got it. before kids get programmed early, on where they start to get this intellectual training, they're the most intuitive beings on the planet.
Sure.
They'll lean back and shy away from this friend of yours because something doesn't feel good, like you were saying in the meeting and the four couples. Kids are so sensitive. And that's what happened to me when I was little. I just picked things up. I felt things. My father passed on when I was 16. The night before, I turned to look at him in his chair, and it's like he disappeared. And I had this really weird feeling. The whole night, it turned out after my mother and I was the oldest, my mother and I talked, she'd been having dreams that my father was leaving the family in various kinds of scenarios. And it was mystical. And here this thing happened to us. And it was kind of a confirmation that we sensed something, we felt something. And people do that all the time, all over the world. It's a matter of acknowledging it just a little bit.
Absolutely. When my grandmother passed away, I was the first grandchild. Yeah. And so, but it was the day she passed away. And we lived a little piece away. And I said, we got to go see Mama. And so we went. And I remember getting there, and all I did was touch her wrist. That's all I did. Yeah. I felt this shock. It was just like some kind, and then I had to step away, and it was almost like a religious experience. And so I touched her, get the shock, and then I go to the restroom, and Phil is following me because he's like, something is wrong with Donna, like that. And I said, Mama's about to pass away, like that. And so I actually passed out. And I don't pass out. I've never passed out in my life, but it was an experience I have never had in my entire lifetime. But you can experience things you've never experienced before and wonder, what was that about? It's about intuition. It's about aura. It's about all those wonderful things that God gives us. And we can be successful with it, or we can not be successful with it. And I'm talking business. It's a great way to be successful.
And probably for me, the biggest part, I have 5 children. And the biggest place where my intuitive senses have helped the most is in those relationships. Knowing when to stay out of it, knowing when to get involved in it, using that sensitivity, again, to be more in my own timing, more in my own right place. And one of the things we need to talk about just briefly, I know we're beginning to wrap here, discernment, discerning those energies. And most people take on energies, and they're starting to act or react on energies from the outside, pressures, the outside influences, and they don't even discern that that's not them. You'll hear people, why did I do that? That's not like me. Discerning what is me and what is not me is a big part of the techniques that we do in our workshops and classes. And we're trying to help people bring this down to earth. Like you said earlier, demystify it, put some common sense to it. There's so much. And Donna, I've been doing this work for decades now, and I still learn more every day about all this. I'm very humble. I bring it on. I want to experience more. And I've found that no matter where a person is in life, if they want to grow and learn, there's more out there.
There most certainly is. How can folks find more information about you, Paul? How can they be part of your group?
Well, two things. Number one, the Empowered Soul Network is a Facebook group. So they can go on to Facebook and kind of put that in the search, Empowered Soul Network. And then also my website, I didn't put that up there, but they can go to riseinexcellence.com, riseinexcellence.com. There's a lot of stuff in there. I'm still building that out more with new blogs and things like that. But riseinexcellence.com. Another thing I wanted to pass on is that in Empowered Soul Network, every Wednesday and Friday, we do the Empowered Edge. So the edge energy, Donna's edge, the empowered edge. Let's get you guys some edge out there. Let's sharpen that energy to cut through any kind of negativity or confusion with those intuitive powers.
Absolutely. Again, Dr. Paul, thank you so much for being on the show with me. And thank you guys so much for being with us too. You're the reason we do what we do. Continue sending email, Donna@donnasedge.com. We'll see you next time.